BNT. Ekron. Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. My name is Rob Orgel, your favorite silencer enthusiast. In today's video, I wanted to do a buyer's guide, being that it is January in 2026 and now the tax stamps are free. It is a great time to dive in. If you haven't already bought a silencer or two or 20 or 199, let me show you some of my favorites for each category if you're just now hopping into it and want the short answer to all the experiences and videos I put together. What are my current favorites? Now, this does not live forever. In a month or two or six, I'm sure those opinions will change as we're rapidly evolving with lots of new suppressors, lots of new companies, and constantly I go, this is my favorite, no, this is my favorite, now this is my favorite. So if you find yourself purchasing a silencer that I recommend today and a few months later, that's no longer the king of 556. Don't be offended. There's small improvements as we go. Every once in a while, something does come around that reinvent the wheel and it's worth diving into a newer one. But I can tell you, I don't buy a new iPhone every year. But if you've got a Nokia, it's probably time to upgrade. All right, guys, without wasting any time, make sure you hit those buttons, like, comment, subscribe, all those important things. They really do help the channel. If this is your first time on the channel, it's important to know that I do a lot of suppressor testing, and I really enjoy sharing this content. So do me a solid, hit that button in return. It helps as a community to get this information out there. All right, guys, without wasting any time, let's get into it. Okay, let's start with my favorite caliber, 556. Now, those of you who've been following the channel know that I cover this caliber more than any other caliber because it's my favorite, because I have a career in military and private military with this caliber, and it is the cat's meow. It has so many applications. So now, without wasting any time, let's start talking about my favorites. So now, I didn't put these in order of favorites. I actually put them in order of height. But to start with my favorite, this is one of the newer suppressors that I currently picked up, and I absolutely love it. It's blowing the doors off of everybody else. And there is some close neck and necks between these two, and I'll get into them very soon. But I wanted to include a few other options because it's not so simple. A lot of people put in the comment section, Rob, recommend me a 556 silencer. And it's kind of a give and take. It's analogous to recommend a car for me. Well, how many people are in your family? Do you pull a boat sometimes? There's kind of a conversation. A car salesman shouldn't just say, buy this one. Now, I'm not a car salesman. I have no interest in whether you buy silencers or don't. I want to welcome you to a community and help make it easy for you to decide what silencer is best for you. But it's hard for me just to respond to a comment and say, buy this. It's better for us to have a conversation. So hopefully here I can cover a good snapshot of why I chose these and what's best for which application. Now, this is called the Ridgeback Roadie, and for whatever reason, they sent it to me in this highly reflective color. I wish they had sent it to me in black, so I'll probably have Eric at East Valley Tactical Cerakote it for me. But this suppressor is truly impressive. Its weight is only 14 ounces, which is pretty industry standard. It's pretty small. It's relatively low back pressure. For those of you who watch the channel, you know I go pretty deep down the rabbit hole of back pressure. And this is in that slightly higher than mid-range low back pressure. So all things considered, it does very good on every topic. But the best thing is, it is one of the best sounding 556 suppressors I have. Being that it's so small, short, 14 ounces is relatively light, this is a great suppressor for a do-all. In addition to it, it's a 6mm suppressor. It's called the Roadie 6. So this can do 6mm arc, 6mm Creedmoor, and much more. So currently, this is one of my favorites. Next in line for my favorites, and I don't know which one I like more, so I'm not saying this is second place. I'm saying these are a tie for first place. Now, this is the Stealth Additive Works Tisha 223. This suppressor to me is incredibly impressive. It weighs 10 ounces and it is titanium rather than Inconel. I personally prefer titanium over Inconel, but if you're a heavy use FRT or registered machine gun kind of guy, you probably want Inconel and not titanium, so the Roadie would be more appropriate for you. This guy is much, much more for the, I don't want to say low schedule of fire, because I have shot this full auto and it behaved just fine. And in fact, if you go back into my channel, you'll find plenty of videos of me dumping mags through this when it was a prototype. And now that I have mine, I'm not going to go dumping mags because I really like it and I don't want to damage this suppressor. suppressor. So if you do a mag or two, you'll be okay. If you do 6 mags, it might not survive. But this suppressor too is very similar to the Ridgeback Rhodey that the Stealth Additive Works Tisha is 4 ounces lighter. It sounds equal as good, and it's a little bit shorter. This guy is just over 4 inches. This guy's closer to 5.5 if I recall. And this guy's slightly lighter. So to me, if you're a titanium or Inconel guy, you're between these two suppressors for the cat's meow best of them. Again, they sent it to me in silver. I don't know why they did that. Eric at East Valley Tactical will help me out, and I'll get it in black or FDE. Okay, some other noteworthy mentions. The next one in line for me is going to be somewhere between the Maximus L from Centurion Arms or the SIG. Both of these are very good at being lower in back pressure. So this one specifically, you can dump mag after mag, and gases tend to stack inside of silencers, meaning the first round is low back pressure, the second one is higher and higher in back pressure because the gases aren't leaving the suppressor. So you can shoot one round and not have crap get in your eyes, but if you shoot 6 rounds in a hurry, you might get crap in your eyes. You might have to stop shooting for a second to clear it out of your eyes and then continue shooting. I have found that this suppressor, amongst many, is one of the best performers in not just being low back pressure, but staying low back pressure. It also sounds incredibly good. Now the Inconel is what I'm holding. The titanium one is over my shoulder here, and that is one of my absolute favorites for coyote hunting and everything else because the gas is consistently low. That allows me to tune my gas block and have it not behave differently on shot 2, 3, or 4. It's crazy light and it sounds really, really good. So I'm very impressed by the Centurion Maximus 5.56 suppressor. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, this is the SIG Hexium 5.56. This too is a very impressive suppressor. Not just is it low back pressure, it's also really, really good sounding. You can see that I picked mostly all good sounding cans, with the exception of 2 I'll talk about next. But the SIG Hexium line, SIG's been around for a while in the silencer world, and I think way up here you'll see an old SIG silencer, the SLX, SLH over here. They were okay for their time. They didn't really impress me a ton. These SLH, SLX were designed for super, super low back pressure, and they do a good job of that, but they don't sound very good. This suppressor really captivated that audience with being, and there's a 762 and a 300 over here, and they too are incredible suppressors. But for 5.56 specifically, this can is really very impressive for the low back pressure, lightweight. It only weighs 8 ounces, and it is one heck of a performer. Okay, next I'm going to step into it might not sound quite as good, but it still fills other roles. So this is the B&T Print X H Compact. Man, that's a mouthful. Why I like this suppressor so much, it is one of the best dual suppressors. It requires no maintenance, it's low-ish back pressure, which puts it in the midsection of low back pressure. It sounds good enough, and it has 3 separate metalloids inside of it. It's mostly titanium with an Inconel blast baffle and a stainless end cap. This reduces muzzle flash, which is people's chief complaint about titanium silencers. So this suppressor does a great job at balancing all things between low back pressure, low muzzle flash, lightweight, no maintenance. Like all things, this is just a great dual suppressor. If you're strictly after sound, you might not be after this suppressor. Next is one of my favorites for the lightweight small application. This is the 4 Systems Recce 5.56 titanium. Does it sound great? No. Is it low back pressure? Yeah. Is it light as all get up? Yeah, and it's small too. So like for K silencers, this is really a very good performer for keeping it as small and as light as possible while still being capable. Now you'll see I have smaller suppressors, but I don't think they perform quite on the level that this suppressor does. That's my general snapshot for 5.56. Moving on to the next caliber. Alrighty, stepping into 30 caliber suppressors. Now when I say 30 caliber, that means 308, sure, but it can also mean up to 300 Norma Magnum, 300 Winchester Magnum, and many more. You can go down in caliber too, like a 6.5 Creedmoor or a 6mm Creedmoor, my favorite. But then you can also shoot 5.56 on your AR-15 just the same. Now some things to know is when you use a bolt action suppressor, which is these guys are more bolt action, and you might even draw the line right here. They're a higher back pressure. What that means is it's designed for a sealed system. And when you have a sealed system suppressor, it's going to kick a lot of gases rearward if you're using an AR-10 or AR-15. Those gases are going to work through the system and get into your face and overcycle your weapon, causing malfunctions, unnecessary wear and tear on your weapon, and also you're going to get those gases into your nose, lungs, eyes, and otherwise. So immediately on the range, when you shoot 5 rounds quickly, it might gas you out and you'll have to stop shooting for a second so you can clear out your eyes, or it can cause long-term effects. So that's the human side. The weapon side, it causes, as I mentioned, malfunctions, undue wear and tear, and it adds more carbon into the system. So it might shorten your range day and the overall life of your weapon, both you and your weapon. So it's a good idea to use gas gun suppressors in your gas gun. And then if you do want to use a bolt action suppressor on your gas gun, it's a good idea to choke off your gas with an adjustable gas block or something similar. I have a video specifically on mitigation of gas back pressure if you want to check that out. Okay, so getting into the 308 6.5 Creedmoor 6mm Creedmoor suppressors. I'm going to start over here and explain why I picked these suppressors. So this is the Huxworks Flow 762. Huxworks has a reputation of not sounding great, but pioneering the flow-through concept. Well, the Flow suppressors, their new line, really do sound good. They're not the best sounding, but they're up there. I would say they're within 10 suppressors, 199 behind me. So when I say within 10 of the best, that's like the winner circle. That's a small amount. So they're within the top 10 in class. There are better sounding suppressors, but they are incredibly low back pressure. So if your rifle just cannot be tuned, it just needs a low back pressure suppressor, then that is hands down your answer. Next in line is the SIG 762 suppressor. Now this is specifically designed for 762 gas guns, and it is very low back pressure, and it sounds very good for its size and its low back pressure. It's also very lightweight at 10 ounces. So between these two would be my keep the back pressure low. They're phenomenal performers. And if I had to pick between the two, I might lean towards the SIG. If SIG's out of stock, I'd get the Huxworks and I wouldn't worry. I just don't like that Huxworks has a proprietary mount, meaning you can't choose the mount you use or direct thread. You have to use a Huxworks mount for this suppressor, and that's kind of a big negative in my opinion. Also, it doesn't sound quite as good as the SIG does. All right, next in line is the SIG 300. This suppressor was designed for 300 blackout. However, I am finding it performs very well in 5.56 and 300 blackout and 308 and 6mm Creedmoor. It's a little bit on the big side, and it does have a little bit more back pressure than its smaller brother, but it is quite a performer, especially on sound. Okay, moving over. This is the Stealth Additive Works Tisha 30 caliber, and it looks like the 5.56 one because they're both the same color, but this one is the 30 caliber suppressor. I am finding it too performs incredibly well for its size. It's not going to keep up with its bigger brothers, but for its size, it's very low back pressure and it sounds very good for only being 4 inches long and 10 ounces. Next is the PTR Vent 1. This has been a tried and true excellent performer for the last year and a half for me. In fact, I have 2 of them so I can do head-to-head testing with other things. This suppressor really does good at everything, and it only was recently bested by the Cat JL over here, so that's why I use it less and less, but it is still a phenomenal performer, and it's low back pressure. You can put on a bolt gun, you can put on a gas gun, you can put on a 300 blackout. It just does everything very well. Now I mixed back in the Rhodey because that's a Rhodey 6. So if you're staying to 6mm, like 6mm Creedmoor, 6mm ARC, you'll be okay. If you step up into the 6.5s and 308s, you cannot use the Rhodey, but I wanted to mention it in this one. Next is the Cat JL. Now here's where we're starting to step into the bolt gun department. The Cat JL is still low back pressure for being bolt gun-ish style suppressor. I would still use it on a gas gun. I would consider choking some gases off with an adjustable gas block or something, but this guy will go on a gas gun or bolt gun, and it does excellent at everything I put it on. It has been a top performer in every category from 5.56 to 308 to 300 blackout. It is just a solid performer across the board. And if you made me pick in this lineup, this one's going to, if you say sound is all I care about, this is going to be the silencer I'm going to recommend to you. If you say, well, I want sound and low back pressure, this guy, but the end state is this is quite a performer in so many categories. Next, there's a new guy in town who's quite impressed me. It is definitely a full back pressure suppressor, so don't put it on a gas gun unless you choke off. I'm not saying you can't, but it's just not a great idea. But this is the G3 Defense Mark 7 suppressor. It's very lightweight, it's very small, and it sounds in many cases as good as their bigger brothers. So to keep it lightweight, compact on your bolt gun, this is a phenomenal performer. Next up, these are 2 new suppressors from B&T, the B&T Printex 300 and the B&T Tyrex Compact. This is called a compact because this is reflex. So the barrel goes inside and it screws in. You can see I'm into threads here, and that's how deep it's going inside. So this threads over your suppressor, only adding So this threads over your barrel, only adding this much length, and it sounds really, really very good. The APC 300 suppressor, this was designed for their specific integral suppressed gun, and then they pulled it off, put a hub on it, and said, now you can put it on whatever you want. And this is called the Print X 300. This suppressor is designed for 300 blackout. However, I am finding it does good in many other things, to include 223, to include all the other things that I enjoy. It's full back pressure. So these three are full back pressure. This guy is kind of medium on the back pressure, and then everything else is much more into the low back pressure area. Now, if you say, Rob, pick your favorite of these. If you say I got to pick bolt gun, these three I'll call bolt gun suppressors. The Cat Jail's kind of on the cusp. These three, I couldn't pick. I like all three of them. They all sound very similar. They're all great performers. I don't know. Any of those are great. If you say all I care about is sound on my gas gun, then I'm going to be recommending the Cat JL, the PTR Vent 1, or the SIG Hexium 300. If you say I really want to keep it short and light, well then you're going to be somewhere between the Tisha 300 or the Tisha 30 cal, or probably the SIG Hexium. If you say I need ultra low back pressure, then somewhere between the SIG Hexium and the Flow 762. Why didn't I mention the Rhodey again? Because it's only a 6mm suppressor, so it's going to limit you within this category. All right, guys, let's move into the next caliber. Alrighty, stepping into 9mm. Now these 9mm are specifically for 9mm pistol. Can you use them on pistol caliber carbines? Kinda yes and no. There's some things to know about that, and I'll cover that in other videos. I just want to put out my recommendations for your pistol 9mm. Now I have them in order again of height, not necessarily in order of my favorites. First off, I've got the modular suppressor from B&T. Now this suppressor is called like their Impulse 2, if I recall correctly, and this has its own booster system to unlock your pistol's action, which pistols do need. This sounds really very good. I would say it's got a little bit higher of a tone to it, but it is one of the quieter, and it increases back pressure to make your gun very reliable. Every gun I've put this on has reliably operated very well, and they put a lot of ingenuity into their caps and their extension area, so I really do like this suppressor. Next in line, if you need ultra quiet, I would say that the B&T is the quietest, but if you want a deeper sound to it, while it is equally quiet or maybe a hair louder, the deeper sound makes it, human experience-wise, a little bit better sounding, and that's the PTR Vent 9mm suppressor. This is a great suppressor for overall sound reduction, and it's a little bit larger, but it's got that deeper tone that really makes me happy. Okay, next, this is the Huxworks Flow 9mm suppressor, and this is their newer one that they released. I believe it was middle of the year last year. This suppressor is incredibly lightweight. It's very reliable on everything I've put it on. I don't love it on pistol caliber carbines. While you can put it on them, it's much more designed to give some back pressure, whereas pistol caliber carbine suppressors are designed to not give back pressure. So this suppressor is great for a pistol. It doesn't sound the best, but it's very lightweight and very capable. Next in line, I've got the Spectre 9, and this suppressor has replaced the Omega 9K, and it is lighter and better performing. And I would argue that this sounds like a full-size suppressor while maintaining a very compact profile. Lastly, and probably my favorite, this is the Stealth Additive Works Shiv 9mm. This suppressor only weighs 2.5 ounces. Because it's so light, it does not need the booster that the other ones need. So what that means is it doesn't need the added back pressure to unlock the weapon because of how light it is. So it's just a straight direct thread. You cannot change this out unlike the rest of these. This is only 1/2x28 thread onto your 9mm, but also you can put it on your PCC, pistol caliber carbine, because there's no added back pressure because it's so lightweight. And I also find that this, you won't believe me, sounds as good as some of the older full-size suppressors. There are the newer full-size suppressors that do sound better, but if you go back a couple years, those full-size suppressors go head-to-head with this guy, and in some cases, this guy wins. So it's a compact suppressor that gives full-size performance while not needing a booster or Nielsen device to unlock. Therefore, it becomes a great pistol suppressor and a pistol caliber carbine suppressor. I wish they hadn't sent it to me in silver, but this is a solid performer. All right, let's move out of 9mm and into the next caliber. All right, moving into 22 suppressors. Again, I've got them in order by height, but I'm gonna tell you my favorite one is not the tallest one. My favorite one is by far the B&T Tiger 22. This suppressor is the cat's meow of rimfire suppressors. It kills it in every single department with the exception of one. The one department it does not shine is back pressure. It kicks a lot of gas rearward. If you're on a 22 or 17 HMR, you're not going to notice the back pressure because those are such low pressure rounds. However, if you put this on a higher pressure round, you're going to find that it does have a lot of back pressure. So if you put this on certain 5.7s or 5.56, you will find, and yes, I said 5.56, two of these are rated for 5.56. And by rated, I mean the manufacturer doesn't say it's a good idea, but they say in a pinch you can get away with it. If you want to know more about that, I did a meltdown video where I blew up one of these suppressors just to see what it would take. And it took a lot to get the silencer to pop. So having said that, I comfortably take this on a bolt action rifle hunting, or put this on an AR-15 and tune the gas way down with an adjustable system to make this a very viable and highly capable suppressor. What's odd is it doesn't just do it. It does it very, very well. In fact, it outperforms most of my 5.56 suppressors. So I can't say enough about this B&T Tiger 22 suppressor. It is quite a performer, especially for its size and the fact that it's a 22 suppressor. So on a bolt action 5.56, this thing is phenomenal. Now, I'm going to stop there because it sounds like I work for B&T now, and I'm going to move into the next suppressors. The best modular suppressor, in my opinion, is the Silencer Co. Switchback. This allows you to configure it not just in 3 different lengths, but also to configure it for rifle or pistol. It's not the lightest because it's modular, and that means it comes with some extra screw-in pieces, and that means you have to add some weight. So it's not the lightest, but it's very quiet, it's modular, it's very easy to clean if that's something you're into. Moving on, the Dead Air Mask has been a tried and true. Everyone will fight between the Silencer Co. Sparrow or the Dead Air Mask as like they are the one, both of which are very solid. I'll fight for either one that you choose for me to fight for. The end state is they're both good suppressors. I just don't love them anymore because there are lighter, better options available to us today. However, if everything's out of stock and you need to grab a great sound performer, either the Silencer Co. Sparrow or the Dead Air Mask is a great choice. Next is the Scorpius. This is from Off Grid Armory. Now, this suppressor is also quite a performer, and when I showed them how I was testing 22 suppressors on 5.56, they went and did the same thing and sent me a video of them just mag dumping with this suppressor, and it actually stayed alive through most of it, which is quite impressive. So this suppressor, having seen that, I put it on 5.56 as well and found not only did it work, but it too is quite a performer. Is it as good as the Tiger 22? I don't know. I've only put a few rounds through this, so much more testing to come. But all in all, this suppressor is also a very solid performer on many things. The B&T Tiger is the first choice. If it was out of stock, perhaps this would be my second choice. Next, the Mercy Firearms Pluto Micro. Now, why would you pick such a tiny silencer? When you're on a rifle, you're burning so much of that gas through the barrel that it really doesn't take a big or very effective suppressor to handle a 16-inch rimfire. So I would say this goes on my rifles. Now, Stealth Additive Works makes something very similar, and they're sending one where I'll test it head-to-head, so more testing to come. But as of now, I would say this little micro suppressor does great at keeping my weapon short and light, and it is just as effective as the rest of them when you're on a 16-inch configuration. These guys, you'll notice they shine more when you step up to 17 HMR or when you're in a pistol configuration. So when I'm on a rifle configuration, this is my go-to for keeping it short and light. Let's move into the next caliber. All right, as we step into pistol caliber carbines, let's keep something in mind. Pistols, as I mentioned before, need the added back pressure to unlock the action. Pistol caliber carbines have fixed barrels. What that means is you don't want to have a piston, booster, Nielsen device. It has a lot of names. You don't want to use those in a pistol caliber carbine because under rapid fire that can cause some vibrations and you can get a baffle or end cap strike and destroy your silencer. So you want to have a fixed spacer where it directly threads in, or you want to have a 3-lug adapter. Now, having said that, let's dive into my favorite pistol caliber carbines, but let's start with my favorite one. The Stealth Additive Works Tisha 9mm is a phenomenal suppressor, and here is why. One, it is one of the best sounding 9mm suppressors I have. It's only 4 inches and 10 ounces, and unlike the rest of these, when you take a 9mm suppressor, you can do 9mm supersonics and subsonics, and in many cases you can do it full auto. but rarely can you also do 5.56. Rarely can, sometimes you can do 300 blackout, subs only, or subs and supers, as in supersonic and subsonic. But you rarely can do 5.56 or 308 or some of the other calibers. And Stealth Additive Works said, do whatever you want with this. 338 ARC was the largest they said. They didn't say 338 Lapua Magnum, but I'm hoping they come back and say, yeah, you can do that. They haven't yet. But I've put this to 308, 7.62 by 3.9, many other calibers. And while it doesn't sound great because it's so tiny and that's a lot of pressure, and this is designed for more subsonic 9mm, it can still do it, and it does it pretty good by comparison to any of these other guys who typically won't do that. And I'll talk more about one more exception to that soon. But this suppressor, all in all, for 9mm does a great job, but it can do many more things, and it's only 4 inches, and it's 10 ounces. All right, moving on to the next one. This is a much larger suppressor. This is the B&T SQD9 suppressor. Obviously, this is much more designed for pistol caliber carbines, and it would cause malfunctions if you tried to put this on a pistol. So for all of your PCCs, this does a phenomenal job. It's full auto rated. And speaking with the owner, he said, yep, you can run 338 Lapua Magnum through this. They're all rated for all kinds of abuse. Don't go shooting a bunch of rounds too quick, but this too can take pretty much anything you can throw at it. Sound-wise, it's really very good, and it's modular. So you can remove this section and move the cap rearward. The cap is a flow cap, but you can change it out for a sealed cap. So you kind of have a 4-way modular ability. Sealed, short, vent, or sealed. So you have 4 options on how to run the suppressor. So far, I have found the short configuration is kind of the way to be because there's point of diminishing returns on being in the long configuration. But this does an excellent job within 9mm supersonics and subsonics. Next, the Range 360 from Huxworks. This suppressor is impressive because it does a good job on 9mm, but it also, like the other 2 I mentioned earlier, can do everything else. You can go 338 Lapua Magnum on this. Now, when I said most of them won't do that, these are the exception to that rule, which is why I like them so much. It's lightweight, it sounds okay, and it can do so much that most 9mm suppressors cannot do. So that's why this too is quite a performer, and it's highly versatile. Now moving into the more specific 9mm that you can't do so much else with. This is the Spectre 9. Now you heard me mention this in the pistol suppressors. It is a great pistol suppressor, but you can change out your cap for a fixed cap rather than the booster or Nielsen device that can pull rearward. That allows you to run PCCs and full auto, and I do believe they're supersonic and subsonic 300 blackout rated, if you're into that. Are they good at that? No, but it can do it. So to keep it really tiny and do 300 blackout, this will do it. It just, I would use a full-size 30 caliber suppressor. You'll get much better results on sound performance. It can do it, but it does a great job at 9mm. This is a solid performer for 9mm supers and subs. Now, as I mentioned before, the Shiv from Stealth Additive Works is a great PCC suppressor because it's so tiny, it's so light, and by nature it is a direct thread. It doesn't need to be swapped out from a piston to a direct thread. So this is also a very solid performer. That is my 9mm category. Hopefully this answers most of your questions as it pertains to being a first-time or third-time buyer, the best I can do for bringing everyone up to date quickly on what currently has captivated my attention and has been the solid performers of each class. Guys, if you like this content, please make sure you hit that like, comment, subscribe. It really does go a long way. If you throw a comment in the comment section, just, hey, thanks for the review or whatever, it really does go a long way for the channel. Thank you. It's a community. The silencer industry is growing, but we are still a small community. It's important that we look out for each other and help disseminate good information. I appreciate you. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the comments.